Okay, I'm going to go live. Doc is not here yet, but, it was getting to be um, a little late, so I didn't want to prolong it any further. He just texted me. He said he'll be on momentarily. So let me just go ahead and promote this. Alrighty. Let's see. Just this is the part that I always I don't want to say hate, but it's always a pain in the tuchus to go ahead and you know promote this. So let's see. Going on social media and everything. Retweet, quote tweet. All right, Doc, like I said, we'll be on in a minute. In a minute. In a minute. In a minute. Probably one of only like a handful of people who remembers in a minute on USA, the bumper and everything. So let's see. Go ahead and create. Doc will be here any second now. It's funny now that I say that in a minute, USA. USA Cartoon Express. Wow, that's taking me back in a minute on USA. Good grief, man. That's something. Any minute now, Doc. I hear my son in the background. He's having a little difficulty going to sleep. Going to bed, rather. Here we go.
Yeah, so the fuck up was brought I brought the new mic to my dad's house. I thought I brought everything back and I didn't. So unfortunately that includes stuff for the mixing board. So I don't really have access to it. So I had to switch back to, Base Yeti for this one. I apologize.
That's okay. Listen, as long as
Yeah.
you're able to record
Yeah.
still.
Yeah. And I tested it already, so it comes out. But I was just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Shh. You know, gotta love technology, right?
Yep. Um, so how was your day?
Uh, it was good. I'm gonna Cat and I were like half jokingly, half serious. We're gonna pay your daughter to come over to our house and weed our garden, because she spent. I don't know if your wife told you she spent a good portion of the time at the party in our garden, just weeding it and tamping it down and everything. And we were like, "You can come back literally anytime and do this. We're
Uh-huh.
not going to stop you." And your wife said, if you contribute towards her in-app game purchases, whatever she'll do.
Yeah,
So I was like, okay. Um, I was like, I'm sure we could do that. Um,
cool.
so as you can see, um, in the 150 notes, we have a handful of
Yeah. So I was gonna say, especially since you mentioned it a couple of times. So I have a few that are anonymous, but they are from work.
okay.
So yeah, if you want.
All right. Well, go ahead and pop those in.
Okay.
I looked at them only insofar as I had to like type them in,
Mhm.
but I have not really given thought to the questions. So, um,
I'm just typing these out because it was literally just I told people I'm like, look, if you just want to write them on a piece of paper and stuff, I'll just type them up and I'll make them anonymous because obviously work related people, I don't want them to feel like there's anything imposing. So I'm just typing them out as they wrote them. I don't have a opinion on them.
that's fine by me. Do, 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 do. Cat is still trying to put Theo to bed
Mhm.
because he's like, I need one more hug. I need one more kiss. One more, one more, one more. It was a big day for him. He was hopped up. He was
Gotcha.
super excited. I felt bad um, for for your kid because she was like the oldest one there by several years, and
Okay.
we don't really have toys to entertain older children. You know, I mean, my niece and nephew have fun when they come over because they're in a close enough cohort, even though, I mean, well,
Yeah.
Adelina's 6, so
Yeah.
she's 3 years older, and Alston is 1 year older. So,
Yeah.
um, but your daughter's 10, so that's a whole other level.
Yeah.
Um, and then I was, we have the, I know, I'm streaming, and now there's a cat in the room.
Oh. Hello.
He says hello. she's like, he's like, yeah, can you come in? He's calling for you. I'm like, nope. Typing up, the next couple episodes that we're doing.
Mhm.
Gotta scroll through and we're gonna do Beast Boy.
All right, those are the ones that I got.
Okay. Hey, Dr. Goku. Hope you have a
Hey.
great show. Thank you very much. Appreciate your question,
Yeah.
which we will get to, when we record. And then also thank you for the other thing,
Hee.
which obviously is going to remain a secret. Uh, so are you ready to start recording for the 150, or do you
Yeah.
want to keep writing for Moon Knight?
I say let's get the recording done only because since I'm on call all this weekend, let's get
Understood.
every bit we can in the can and.
Okay. Well, then let's get started.
Okay.
So I am I'm now recording on my end for the 150.
And if I could actually spell. Okay, I am recording for episode 150.
All right. And 3, 2, 1. There we go. Oh, BKB. And let me just close that. I'm just trying to reduce the number of tabs I have open. It's
Yeah.
always a problem.
Yeah. Or as Yaz says, you have a lot of tabs. Too many.
Yeah, I'm sure. That close all tabs to the right thing is really helpful.
Yes, it
It's
is.
like, okay, like this one is going to be safe. This is all bullshit.
Yep, that's exactly why I have the capes links always on the left.
Mm-hmm. Amen to that. All right. And we're going to kick off in 3, 2. Hello and welcome to Capes on the Couch, where comics get counseling. I'm Anthony Sitko.
And I'm Dr. Issues.
This is a big one for us. This is issue number 150, which is just, it's mind-boggling. And by the way, this is issue 150 that doesn't include the Mental Health Avengers or the Creators on the Couch. So, technically we've done a lot more than even that, but this is the 150th in the mainline series, which 4 years ago when we started the show, it was like, yeah, let's see what happens if we do a podcast. And now to hit 150 episodes and to have all you wonderful, amazing folks listening to us for this long. I know we say it all the time, and it all sounds cliche at this point, but we could not do the show without each and every single one of you. So, we are truly grateful for all of you.
Yep, we really hope to continue to do you proud. I know Anthony has put in just countless hours at this point with this, and I do my best to come along for the ride and give my little tidbits here and there.
Well, those little tidbits are the reason why we have a show. Yes, I do a lot of the, shall we say, administrative work on this podcast, but without your expertise, it's just me talking into a microphone about comics and trying to hit something. And I'm sure, with there, I'm sure it wouldn't be a complete mess, but it would not be nearly as comprehensive and effective without you. Not to mention the fact that just doing this with you for 4 years is pretty, pretty, yeah, is pretty freaking sweet. So,
Yeah, there you go. That's the best part. Just doing these episodes with you. That's super cool.
this is an AMA episode. Ask us anything. Well, ask me anything. Ask us anything, so to speak. Um, we have a whole bunch of questions that we received in advance, and as well, we'll also be checking the live stream because we are live on YouTube at this point. So hopefully, if we get any questions that or comments that pop up, I know our friends from Popcorn Psychology had indicated that they would like to, that they said they were going to come to us with some questions. So I'm keeping uh, the Twitter open as well. So I'm hoping that maybe they get to us with something. But in the meantime, we've got a plethora of awesome questions. So we're just going to jump right to it. Then the first question comes to us from at Mikey Geek on Twitter. Mikey hosts a podcast, and he said, "What is your scariest podcasting moment?" Um, so, I mean, for me, I would say it would probably have to be anything technical. Um, I know there have been a couple instances where we have lost audio or the audio sounds fine while we're recording. And then afterwards, when I'm listening to it, there's static, there's technical issues. It sounds muffled or whatever. And so that's when it's oh crap, are we going to have to re record this entire episode again? Which has happened a handful. It happened with the Loki episode very early on. I distinctly remember that we had to re-record the entire Loki episode, um, and then just bits and pieces here and there. So at least that for me, that's the scariest moment is just the technical stuff. But otherwise, I mean, I have a blast doing this, um, and it's just the loss of time, the amount of time I spend.
I agree that the technical side, full disclosure with how the sausage gets made, including this episode for one reason or another, and it's my fault, but that's not the point. That's always in the back of my mind. But really, if you want to talk about it, it's still this episode, but it's every episode where we're recording and I'm on call. Because what you guys may not know is I still work full time, but I work for a hospital. So if there are certain situations where I have to go into the hospital, I really do have to drop everything and be there in a timely fashion. So that includes right now. So although the audio sounds clean thanks to the magic of Anthony's editing, there have been times where I just said, "Nope, gotta stop, gotta go," and we pick up at the earliest time we can. So there's always a sense of tension, but I don't want to say scared. I'm not scared. If I was scared, I wouldn't be talking into this microphone even on a live stream right now. So I don't think there's anything that's scary. Yeah, I wouldn't classify anything for me as scary, which to be honest, I think my third grade self, my eighth grade self, probably my sophomore high school self, but not beyond that. I think all of them would be shocked that I'm saying nothing is scary. The fact that I'm doing a podcast, the fact that I'm talking to a lot of people, and that doesn't bother me one bit. And at this point, I even seek out opportunities to do speaking engagements. That's a huge change for me in my life. So that's that's just an amazing thing. So the scariest thing is just, oh my goodness, I may have to cut this short because I'm going to get called away. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I wouldn't say that's scary for me. It is always there's an awesome responsibility, and I, I I think it comes across that neither of us take that lightly. I know, yes, we're only, in theory, a small podcast, whatever, and that's not to diminish anything that we do, but at the end of the day, we're still speaking about very serious topics. And so I think from that perspective, it's not a fear. It's just a nervousness, maybe, that we want to make sure that we get this right and that we're not disrespecting the audience. We're not disrespecting the topics that we discuss, that we make a lot of jokes in this show, but we never make light of the people and their plights. We joke about the characters. Um, but that's but we never joke about what it is that they're going through. So um, so we got a question just popped in on the live stream. Chris Osborne, good friend of the show from Play Comics. How does it make you feel that at least one of my cats seems to like your voices? Um, I'm honored, and that's one cat more than likes my voice that live in my house, and I have two of them, three if you include my wife named Cat. Um, so that's it's a fun question, Chris. Thank you for that one.
I yeah, I don't know what to say about that other than what you just said, I guess. I don't know. I've never thought I had a voice for radio, so if I have a voice for cats, then okay.
You have a face for radio. Ho! I know our present level patron Matt, my friend from college, says that Doc, your voice helped his daughter fall asleep when she was younger, like when we first started, his young daughter. Something about the timbre of your voice and the way that you spoke was very soothing to her. And because he would listen to the podcasts, I guess, like while taking her out on walks for naps and stuff.
Yeah, when I'm in true professional mode, I get that a lot from a lot of patients, not just from my voice, but just the way I usually talk to them because I just unless it's really obvious, I just do my best to be chill and I hope that comes across. So, all right, I'll take it as a compliment.
Um, so next question from the podcast. I understood that reference. Again, great group of guys, Irish, I believe. Have you read any IDW Transformers comics, and what are your thoughts? I have read a handful. Um, Simon Furman, I believe, was the writer on those. This was again going back, quite a few years, because I was a big G1 fan, um, of the cartoon back in the day. I still have an original Optimus Prime, which my son now plays with, and I know that's um, blasphemous to some people, but I got it as I had all the toys, and then when I got older, I was like, I don't want to play with these anymore. So my mother sold them in a yard sale, and then in my 20s, I was like, I need all my toys back. So I found the OG Optimus at like a thrift shop in like Somerville or Bridgewater somewhere, and so I bought it, and it was sitting in my room in my office for a long time, and my son saw it and he was like, "That's a truck. I want to play with the truck." So I was like, "Okay, you can play with the truck." So now he plays with. It's a long way to say I'm a big Transformers fan from way back in the day. I watched the original movie. I'm talking the '86. Death of Optimus Prime still makes me cry, etc. And then the Beast Wars, Beast Machines, which was such an awesome show. Um, all that to say, my knowledge of Transformers comics is so infinitesimally small that I don't want to even opine on it. What I've read is cool. Um, the biggest Transformers comic memory I have is the Transformers Avengers crossover, that little like 5-6 issue arc, whatever it was, the little miniseries they did, where the Avengers discover the Transformers and they have to fight together because somehow Megatron got involved, and there's a whole bunch of stuff with the Decepticons. That's it. That's my only knowledge of it. Um, I know we've got some fans that have requested that we like cover the Transformers books, or some of the characters. I'd love to. I'll get to it at some point, I'm sure. But that's kind of all I've got.
So, I would like to expand upon that with nothing. I have not read them, so I don't really have a comment. My knowledge is purely with the cartoons, including the movie, which for whatever reason, my cold heart just didn't care nearly as much about when Optimus Prime died. I thought it was off. sad thing, but just the fact that they came up with Rodimus was really what bothered me. So
Oh yeah, I have a couple of friends who were like, you know, Hot Rod is the worst thing to happen in the Transformers franchise. He's the Scrappy Doo of the Transformers and stuff. And I was like, okay, that's like you got some feelings on that. But so I'm sure at some point we will cover Transformers. Um, Dr. Goku says you're talking about my childhood here. Same. Listen, Doc. I mean, I'm about to be 40. Doc is already there. I know you're in that age range as well. So yeah, we're all right in that boat. Speaking of Doc Goku, he has the next question that he sent us earlier, which I think was a fantastic question. Um, how has doing the podcast changed you? So, Doc, I'll let you answer this one first.
I'm already an introspective person, but I didn't realize that so many people that I knew would take this podcast as a way to dig into my own psyche. I learned this from my old college roommate when he came out to New Jersey. He's also a psychiatrist, but he came out to New Jersey with his wife and his kids, and we're visiting family, and went over there, and he listens to the podcast, and he said, it's amazing because we have distance. He lives out of state, and he said, I love the fact that I can pretty much get your take on everything from modern society to your own philosophies of life to how you deal with patients, all of it through this one medium, even if I go months without having a conversation with you. And I really didn't understand what that meant until my daughter started wanting to listen to the podcast. And now she's getting a little older, so she doesn't always want to, or she lets me listen to other things because I don't want to hear my own voice. But it really made me appreciate the fact that my voice has value. I know that sounds like a selfish thing to say, but if anybody knows me, like really knows me, uh, they know that I'm incredibly self-deprecating and I suffer from massive imposter syndrome. So it really allowed me to build a level of confidence when I'm talking about things that I didn't have before. I really love the fact that I can say things in a way that even if it's not to a patient, even if it's not to a friend, I'm saying it to everyone at large. And if anybody ever wants to quote unquote call me out on something or say that I said something wrong or whatever, I can have a clean conscience. I know that I was doing the best I could with the information I had at the time and the emotional way I was processing things. So I think I'm doing that at a much higher level than before. So that's how I think it's changed me.
I'm going to second that and also say that it has changed the way that I view a lot of media because when I'm watching stuff now, I'm much more cognizant of the the relationships that characters have, the way that they handle trauma, the way that they handle adversity. Um, and I'm not one of these people who thinks that characters need to just have like carefree lives. Um, I like seeing characters struggle. I like seeing them go through the dirt and hopefully come out stronger on the other side. But it's the way in which they deal with that because I've been doing the show for as long as I have, and because we do the deep dives that we do, it you know it has changed how I view media and how I perceive things. It has also made me aware, and I've said this all the time, that it's made me aware of my own issues, my own struggles with mental health, my own dealings with depression and anxiety and ADHD and thing, not just going to therapy and not just speaking to the therapist, which I've done, but also inadvertently this show is therapeutic in a way for me. I'm not going to go so far as to say it's therapy because it's certainly not a replacement for therapy, but it is therapeutic to be able to have these discussions and get input in a way that makes me say, "Huh, I've struggled with this, and this is how Doc is recommending that a character handle a particular struggle or issue that they're dealing with." And if it's something that I can personally relate to, then I will say, "Okay, obviously the in-universe stuff isn't really applicable, but to the extent that the out-of-universe treatment suggestions or advice is applicable to my own life, then I will take it and tweak it in a way that makes it make sense to me." Um, and I've mentioned that numerous times on the show that if I'm having an epiphany about something or if I'm having a realization about a particular topic, then I'll go, "Wow, like this hits home." This hits me where I live. So in that respect, it's also been um, a big help for me to just help me come to terms with my own struggles and make me a better person, not just for the helping other people, but just my own internal thought processes. So it's a great question. Um, so major kudos to Dr. Goku. Um, like I said, fellow mental health avenger, and obviously someone who very much clearly understands the role of podcasting and mental health. So let me just type up the next. So the next question is the first of two from our patrons, Matt and Lissy. If you could pick a fictional character to have on the couch, who would it be?
Oh boy.
I mean, he mentioned in the original question, I just kind of pared it down because he said, if you could have anybody from anime, manga, comics, movies, etc. I just kind of took any fictional character, basically.
Okay, so this is going to be a bit of a throwback to the last AMA that we did because I think I hinted at it before. I think Brian didn't ask this question, but he basically asked about expanding things. So, yeah, uh, Kenshin Himura from Rurouni Kenshin, or the bastardized name for the few anime movies they made, Samurai X. I mean, it also was an anime TV show, but the general premise is it is pretty much you know old school Japan. You have a lot of wars going on. He fought in a war, killed a lot of people, regretted it because of a lot of emotional trauma that he caused for others, and himself actually had killed his fiance at the time. He basically says he doesn't want to kill anymore, but he still recognizes that he's such a damn good fighter that he's willing to continue to fight. So imagine a swordsman being willing to use a sword, but not willing to kill with it. That idea carries for so long and so well. It strikes home with me because I consider myself to be an incredibly aggressive pacifist, meaning do everything in your power to help humanity that comes before death. And I don't even know if I want to say I want to get him on the couch. I think I want to give him a hug and thank him for even coming up with that premise. And it's, to me, it's the idea of what would happen if Gandhi knew that he could kick people's asses as long as they didn't die. Uh, but whatever. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that. But yeah, that's definitely one that struck me hard, and actually still, I think, shapes my philosophy of what humanity can be. That's how powerful I think that character is. So there you go.
I do remember you mentioning that a little bit during the last AMA. So off the top of my head, and it's funny, the first character that popped into my head when you were talking about somebody dealing with the struggle and things of that nature. is Jefferson Smith from Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And the reason being is I love that movie. That is one of my all-time favorite films. Um, Howdy, Girls Talk Comics. They said they're swinging by because we have our live stream starting soon. So enjoy your live stream. Obviously, we're not going to be able to join you, but best of luck to you. But Jeff Smith is someone who I want to talk to him about the struggle that he went through and how his philosophy was changed coming to Washington D.C. That this incredibly morally centered individual enters an arena where morals are fluid. I think I'll be polite and say that in politics, morality is fluid. It's all relative. And so for someone like Jeff Smith to stand where he stands and have his conviction challenged so hard and so personally, it's not just his ideas that are being attacked. It's him personally, and he is being lied on repeatedly by a machine that just seeks to chew him up and spit him out. To go through that kind of trauma and come out the other side still holding on to those same convictions and not willing to bend, and then to see your mentor fall because your mentor who you previously idolized was like it was all me. I was the one who did it. I can't. I am so turned. I mean, it's obviously a very fictional story, because as we've seen, politicians don't do that kind of stuff. Otherwise, Mitch McConnell would have pulled out a gun on the
Oh
Senate
boy,
floor a long
careful.
time ago.
Uh,
If anybody's, if anybody could be changed or swayed like that, but anyway, um, I call it like I see it. Um, I just want to talk to him and find out, you know, like how has that process changed you, and not asking if he's going to necessarily change his moral convictions, but is it going to change how he approaches these kinds of situations in the future? I think that would be a big question for me, um, to Jeff Smith. And then just also, again, because I would be like, also, you're friggin' awesome. and, you know, like I said, I love that movie. And you should all go watch it at least once in your life. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, 1939, Frank Capra. Fantastic film. Um, Capra was accused of undermining America, and he was accused of a whole bunch of communist stuff because he dared show the Senate as, he dared show politics as full of corruption. Um, and they were like, you're going to undermine America and this and that. And he was like, but did I lie? Um, Chris, Anthony, I appreciate you pressing those buttons, even though that was one of the most obvious examples you could have used. I mean, I say again, but where's the lie? I mean, like really, I could have pulled any number of politicians,
yeah.
you know, out of the top of my head, but I think when it comes to, someone who's like presented with copious amounts of evidence that like you are corrupt and everything, and he's like, meh. I think Moscow Mitch is definitely up there, but I digress. So the next question from Matt and Lissy, let me type this out just so we have it up on the screen. Also from Matt and Lissy. What are your early comic memories, or what sparked your love of comics? So for me, I I distinctly remember reading the and some of you are going to laugh and some of you are going to go, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. The comics that used to come in the Hostess fruit pies. I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. There used to be these little tiny, like 3-inch comic books. They were like 6, 8 pages, really, really small. And they were Marvel comics, and they would come in like the Hostess fruit pies. And so I used to go through those apple fruit pies like, ridiculous amounts as a kid. And so that was some of my earliest readings of comics. I also remember reading, of all things, there were Care Bear comics that I read as a child, and my mother was, back in the '60s, um, mid to late '60s, was very big into comics. She had all of them, Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four, etc. And then as she got older, she lost them or sold them or whatever. And she was like, I always kicked myself because I should have held on to those books. They'd have been worth a lot of money and everything. I was like, Ma, you had no idea. Um, but in any case, that's kind of where it started. And it was just this idea that, you know, that there were these larger than life heroes and that they would save the day and fight for justice and the right thing and all that. Um, so in terms of like the comics, that was one of the earliest memories I have. And then I remember the '89 Batman came out when I was 7 years old, the Michael Keaton version. And I think I've spoken about this before. Like I had the giant doll and I had all the action figures and everything. And then in the early '90s, there was the X-Men cartoon and, which I watched like a little bit of, but I wasn't nearly as big into the X-Men cartoon as I was the Spider-Man cartoon, the '94
Mhm.
Spider-Man cartoon. That was a big one for me. Um, so, and then it just, kind of escalated, and now here I am with the Moon Knight artwork on my walls and the Captain America shield tattooed on my shoulder blade. And I'm like, "I- I'm stuck now. So I ain't going anywhere." But so that's kind of my answer.
Oh boy, I feel like I'm gonna sound like Joker in The Killing Joke. Like if I'm gonna try and remember my history, I might as well make it multiple choice. I don't know if I have every timeline specific, distinct memory of what prompted a lot of it. I remember really being into Superman and the Christopher Reeve movies and all that, even as a little kid. But just the idea that you could merge different mediums is what got me. What do I mean by that? Well, I remember reading Sunday comics because they were digestible as opposed to reading whole books. I didn't really get into reading long form books until I was way older. And I watched a lot of TV. For someone that's considered a fairly intelligent male in modern society, I watched a lot of TV, and I think that surprises people, but believe it or not, I think it helped me, appreciate that there were things in the world that I wouldn't have been exposed to if it weren't for that, and then, like I said, reading Sunday comics, I'm like, "There's gotta be some, like, in between because cartoons were great, and some adult things were great." I'm not casting aspersions. My parents let me be exposed to a lot of stuff. But I'm like, there's got to be a like kind of a blend of this, and I didn't know what that meant. And then I started reading Superman comics. I'm like, oh, this is the sweet spot. This is where you get visual artwork. This is where you get to read a bit, like like I said, the super short, Sunday comics, but in a little bit of a longer form, but not so much that it was too daunting. And the fact that sometimes it would deal with things that wasn't just for little kids. It was truly adult stuff that was packaged in mostly a child-friendly format. And when you mix all of those together, it was incredibly comforting. So that's kind of a long-winded way to say I love being a media junkie in all of its formats. When podcasts came out, I'm like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing on earth. When YouTube came out, I'm like, how did I live without this? When every iteration of something comes out, I think this is it. We've reached the apex of entertainment, and something else still changes the dynamic. So I really get excited by that. And comics so far, and as we've seen with the MCU, it's one of those things that seems to just translate no matter what. I just truly adore that. I know that even if you don't have the full background and history and do the collecting, I don't, not nearly to the level that Anthony does, but I still appreciate that at any one point I do deep dives. I will say, hey, I haven't read anything about this character in a long time, and I would just binge on graphic novels of whatever story arc and whatever thing. Even if I barely even heard of it, somebody recommends it, I'll write it down and then later on pick it up and just you know take up all of my free time with it. So I don't know if I actually answered the question per se, but that's the answer you're gonna get.
No, I think that's a fantastic answer. Great stories are great stories, um, and regardless of the medium, regardless of the characterization, I think if you can tell a story that's relatable in a manner that impacts people, and it's well told and well crafted, and there's emotion and development throughout, then I think then I think people will flock to it, and that's something that I think a lot of people need to be reminded of, that certain things are classified as genres when they're mediums. Comics is not a genre, it's a medium. Animation is not a genre, it's a medium. And this infantilization of certain mediums to to diminish them, um, I think does everyone a disservice. So that kind of upsets me when I say, "Oh, it's animation, it's for kids." Well, not really. Oh, it's comic books, it's for kids. Again, not really. I think great stories are great stories, and as long as they're told well and they resonate, then there will be an audience for them. Um, Chris says we've distracted him for editing long enough. Looking forward to making great content with both of you in the future. So yes, go check out playcomics.com. I have guested on the show once or twice. I forget at this point. And I'm also doing a recurring guest spot on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is co-hosted by Chris, to talk about the Moon Knight TV show, which we will get into more next week when we cover Moon Knight again for the second time. So thanks for everything y'all do, and have a big hug too. And Doc, you definitely need to get on that show.
Yes, yes, and that's a perfect example of when I say like I really need to step it up. Unfortunately, work steps it up too, so it limits the opportunities. But no, I am totally open to doing that because I know their premise and it's truly awesome.
Yes, and I know Kate from Ignorance Was Bliss also wants you on the show. So yeah, you got to make more time. And just disregard work, blow it off, or you don't really need to see your wife and daughter. She's 10. She's old enough. She's self-sufficient at this point. She doesn't need you anymore. um, so the next couple questions came to Doc from his coworkers, and as such, they will all be anonymous, but I will let him take over. So,
Okay, so the first one, since Anthony is a lawyer, would he represent you in court for a malpractice case? So I'll just jump in and say the immediate answer is no. Uh, and there's multiple reasons for that. And no, it's not because he's my best friend. Anthony isn't that kind of attorney. So it's just not in his wheelhouse. That's all. Not that I would even, to be honest, even if he were, I don't think I'd be willing to impose that because of our relationship, and I would hate to tie something serious like that to an obligation that he has. Like I feel like that's way too close to blending worlds. That's a, that sounds like a storyline. I don't need that. I don't think either one of us would need that. So, like I said, short answer no, longer answer hell no.
You literally, and this goes to speaks volumes about the nature of our friendship and our relationship. My literal words that I was going to use is short answer no, long answer hell no. And it's because I'm not even kidding. I'm not even exaggerating. That was literally going to be the words out of my mouth. So you are not just you're not just a mental health professional. You are also telepathic. And that's why you're such a damn good doctor, because you could just get in there and read the thoughts of the patients and go, okay, this is actually what's happening. No, but seriously, I am an attorney, but I practice estate planning. So that is my area of expertise. Um, I have family members that come to me and ask me questions about the law all the time, and my response is overwhelmingly, um, that's not anything that I'm comfortable in answering, because I just don't feel, I would rather give you no advice than bad advice. And so I would always say, you know, that like based on my first blush opinion, this may be some of the areas that you want to ask a professional, another professional about. That like this is kind of my take on it, my read of the situation. But in terms of offering to represent anybody, no, no. And MedMal is such a specific area of the law to practice, and it's constantly evolving and changing. I want nothing to do with that. I mean, estate planning is typically also tends to shift, but the shifts tend to be more. Um, they're bigger shifts, but they're fewer apart. So it's like every couple of years, like there will be like this one big change, and then it'll just kind of be stagnant for a while. With minor things here and there. Obviously, I still continue to do my continuing education, but um, all that to say, no, I would never. I would. I wouldn't touch that with a 39.5 foot pole.
Nice, nice. Now here's something that's interesting that just popped into my head with this. In an alternate universe, there is a situation where I actually do like I said, my in theory encore career with financial planning, which does include estate planning. And Anthony still sticks with the attorney stuff and actually builds up his own practice purely of that. And we actually are working together in that capacity where I'm referring him people that need help on that end while I work on the rest of their financial plan. So that's something that has happened somewhere else before incursions happened, and I'm going off the rails here.
It's okay. This kind of episode, I'm not really sure that there are rails to begin with. So, but interesting question.
Yeah. Okay. So next up, if you want, okay, you have it typed up. Never mind.
Yep.
Is there any time when you recommend comics to your patients? Anonymous. No, I have not recommended specific comics to patients. What I do though, and it's not just with comics, I know I've said this in other episodes, especially with people that are very guarded, I try and find an in. So one of my go-to questions is because we always ask about coping mechanisms, but I say, you know what? Don't worry about the baggage or the burden of saying that they're coping mechanisms. What do you do for fun? What do you enjoy? And I'll get the generic thing. I like music, or I read books, or something like that. If a person goes so far as to say they read comics, all right, I'm in. I'm diving. And I'll say, who are your characters? What's the latest thing you read? Do you have anything on a pull list? Do you go online? Do you subscribe to anything? Do you equate that with the movies of whatever? Like all that. I will dive in. And the thing is, the reason I do that is not just because I'm being selfish and I'm looking for recommendations, which I am. I really just want people to know that there's an opportunity at every turn to make a genuine friendly connection with someone. And once we get off the topic of medication or what's going wrong in their life or any of that stuff, and you can tap into the thing that puts a glint in their eye, that's really amazing, because just for that split second they realize life can be worth something, and you're able to reflect it to someone, or able to just take a breath and show it. So that's what I do. I don't make recommendations about specific comics or anything like that. And I also don't BS it. If I don't know something, I'll just simply say I don't know. Tell me about it, and that can also still have a powerful impact. The one thing I did do was for a patient that was in the hospital for a very long time and said they liked comics and they liked a specific character, and I did get, just randomly bought a graphic novel featuring that character, and they were really grateful for it. So that's as far as I've gone. But no, I don't make specific recommendations to patients.
Well, I think it's an interesting answer to an interesting question. And as it is not related to me in any way, shape, or form, I mean, I recommend comics to folks all the time, but I have no medical responsibility to them or over them. So,
Well, I think for you, in your equivalent would be, I mean, your work is totally unrelated to your main job is totally unrelated to comics. So I'm saying, do you have those types of discussions at work? I guess that would be the equivalent question for you.
um, I I would say that to the extent that those kinds of conversations even come up with clients, I certainly make my feelings known. I don't think I have to shy away from them. But then again, like I said, it's because the nature of the relationship is so vastly different that there's nothing holding me back from saying, yeah, I like Moon Knight, or I like Captain America, or I like this book, or I don't like that book. Like it, it makes no difference, because at the end of the day, my recommendations are completely separate from anything that I would have to say about their estate plan, you know. So um,
Yeah.
it's just and then my 9 to 5 with the state government, I talk comics with my coworkers all the damn time. So we're constantly talking about that stuff
All
on
right.
your taxpayer dime. Just kidding.
Oh boy.
I had to say it. I had to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks. You're paying my salary while I get paid to, while I sit around and shoot the breeze about comics.
You
Um,
mean during your lunch break, right? Wink, wink. Uh,
yes, yes. During my lunch break. Um,
all right.
so, and all right. So
Yeah.
I'll go
Sure.
go on to the next one.
Okay. Are there any episodes that you would recommend starting with besides the first one? Anonymous. Um, you know, I'm interested to hear Anthony's answer on this, but I will start off. I would like to think that our format pretty much allows a person to jump in at any time, because while we may have some threads here and there making references to other episodes, I think each episode, because they pretty much amount to a case study, they stand fairly well alone. So I don't know if I have a recommendation. I feel like this gets into dicey territory. It's like, okay, name your favorite episode or whatever, or things like that. And I really try not to do that, because, and this is true for me in general. Uh, if there's something that I've done that I consider a part of my life's work, I do it, and that's it for me. Like, it's there, it's out there. You could enjoy it, you could not enjoy it, whatever. It doesn't bother me either way. So I don't rank and file things really. If people jog my memory, I might have particular moments that stand out, but I I really don't have specifics. I guess if you wanted to know why we make certain jokes, then you might want to start with ones. For example, you might want to start with Scott Summers, Cyclops. I mean, not because that's a great episode compared to the others. It's just you understand Scott's a dick. So, that would be an example. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have much else beyond that.
Yeah, my standard answer to that question is always find a character you like and listen to that one. And then if you like what we talk about, then go back and find others. Not every episode is going to resonate with every single listener. And as the guy who looks at the download stats, um, sometimes in an unhealthy manner, like way more often than I should, that that mindset reflects in the downloads. And I've gotten better at that because I understand not every episode is going to hit the same way. That if it's a big name, we're going to see giant downloads. If it's a smaller name character, or I hate to say this, even a creator interview, then they tend to be smaller downloads. So for me to make the recommendation about any particular episode other than the first one, and I would even say, like, it's kind of sad slash funny, but I'm at the point where I'm like, our first couple episodes kind of suck. Not that they're bad, but we've grown so much since then, and we've changed so much. Not the least of which is the audio quality, if nothing else. But just the way in which we process things, like our formula has grown and evolved. So we are not the same show that we were 4 years ago, and we're probably not going to be the same show, you know, 2, 3, 4 years from now. Things are going to be different, and I would hope so. It's I guess one of the common cliche maxims of podcasting is, once you've been doing it a while, if you if you aren't embarrassed listening to your first episode, you've done something wrong. Um, and it's just the sense that you should have evolved and gotten better over time. But if you're like, yeah, my first episode is great and we've done exactly the same, we're no better since then you're doing it wrong. So I would say find the character that you like and go from there. And then depending on if you want, are you looking for funny? Are you looking for deep hitting emotional impact? Are you looking for philosophical discussions? Because whatever it is that you're looking for, we've got that. And I'll make recommendations to people based on that. They're like, oh, I really want to laugh. And I'm like, well, then listen to Deadpool or Mojo or, some of the jokey characters. If you want emotion, Roy Harper, that one episode, I'm constantly referencing that one in terms of the emotional impact. Or the Carol Danvers episode was another really heavy one. And we run everything in between. So it kind of just all depends on what you're looking for. So, but it's a great question. So, I would say that's actually a very good segue for the surprise that we cannot mention on the live stream. But let me tell you, when you listen to this later, or well, next Wednesday, or this coming Wednesday, I should say, to the one person who's still watching and anybody else who catches this on YouTube later, you will understand why. You will understand one. You will understand one why this was such a good segue to the surprise, and two, why we're not mentioning the surprise until the episode is released. So, um,
that is such an amazing cliffhanger. Oh man, I am
yeah,
so
I know it
excited.
is the ultimate cock tease, and I'm sorry for that. I'm leaving you with podcast blue balls for a couple of days, but I promise you the release will be well worth it when we eventually get there on Wednesday morning. All I will say to Doc is that I did not realize until editing how many segments there were, um, and I was like, "Fuck me, forever." I would say I'm about 3/4 of the way done
Oh well,
through,
that's way more than I would have expected. So,
through the editing process. The bags under my eyes are the evidence of that.
hmm.
I will just say that. So, on that note, um, I will stop the recording for 150. Um, So now we can work on the writing
Yeah.
for 151 Moon Knight. Um, I mean, and is it a situation? Do you still want to? Do you want to record the Moon Knight tonight, or do you want to like write tonight and then like we can record tomorrow? Just
Uh, yeah, good question.
because I'll
Well,
be
let's see.
honest, I'm kind of flagging energy
Yeah,
wise because I had the
sure.
party and everything
Yeah,
today. So
I was
it's just
gonna, to be honest, like when you first sent me the StreamYard thing, I was like, oh crap, I completely, like, it's not that I forgot that we were gonna record. I was just in a completely different headspace. So
good
yeah,
to know.
we can type it out now and record tomorrow. I'm totally fine with that.
Okay.
Especially since I'll be honest, I haven't looked at it since I was typing before, so I don't even I gotta basically read it right now because I don't remember what the hell I wrote. And by the way, for anybody that is watching, this really is how I process all medium in my head. I will, like, it's a brain dump. I will write things or say things or whatever. It's in the moment, and when it's out of my mouth or it's on the screen or on paper, it's gone. I know that sounds really weird because I know how most creators really fall in love with their work and whatnot. It's not that I'm ashamed of my work. It's just more like I don't know what to say. It's there. It almost reminds me of Mist or Riven. I forgot how you say that, but anyway, those games where like you're creating the world, but it's that world. It's not yours anymore. That's how I feel. Anywho, all right. So get back to writing.
Yeah, we it's been like I said, just a long day for me, and I was like, okay, we're gonna get through the 150, and then we're doing Moon Knight after that. Shit, because like I could pass the fuck out right now, going to bed. It wouldn't even be nothing. Um, so I think also, so I think for the issues, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
I can really come up with two because we did three the first go round. So I
Yeah.
don't want to continue to
Okay.
belabor that point. Although the
Okay.
only other thing I would think of would be possibly like him, I guess the question of the alters and the DID, whether they're created as a result of the trauma or the influence from Khonshu, but the fact that he, at the end of the Lemire run anyway, which is completely undone by the Bemis run, that he accepts them all as part of who he is as a
Mm-hmm.
person.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, which is a fantastic way to end the Lemire run. And then Bemis is like, and we're going to go right back to that well.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the one line from the Bemis run that constantly pisses me off is, "We have the power of crazy."
Mm.
I'm like, what? No, 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 just no. McKay run is top notch, and the book came out actually this past Wednesday, and I keep meaning to go to Rogue Comics and pick it up, but I haven't had an opportunity to leave yet and go to go out there and get it. Maybe tomorrow I'll swing by once Theo's down for his nap. I wanted to do it today, but I think my wife would have killed me if I'd have been like, "Hey, Theo's going down for a nap. I know we have decorating to do, but I'm going to go pick up some comics."
Mm-hmm.
I'd have tried to come home and the locks on the door would have been changed. Um, so reading everything that you're writing, I'm assuming we're spending the whole time with Mark.
That was my, that was pretty much what I was going for. The problem is I mean, this is unique to this situation. We haven't done like a full repeat of a, well, it's not even a repeat, but yeah, a full second skit of a character. So, I'm not sure what I wanted to do with it, because my point is, if we're going to do another skit with a character, I want something different. And in this case, I wanted it to be a sense of growth, that there is a better handle on what was one of the problems in the first place, but that doesn't mean that everything is all hunky dory. So, yeah, Mark's kind of got the reins, but there's a couple of options. There's he has the reins for now, and something goes awry and then triggers someone, one of the alters, or I don't know. I'm just rambling out loud right now.
Okay.
All right. And I don't even know what the hell I was going at with this. Like at the end, where it's just like there's bound to like, oh.
Yeah.
Uh,
There you go. So I think that's
yeah,
and
yeah, that
that's
works.
a very in character thing for Mark to say in
Okay.
response to the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the influence of Khonshu and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went back and I half listened to the the first skit, and it was just because of the whole um, switching characters and stuff like that. There was no rhyme or reason to it. Just
Mm-hmm.
kind of random. It was like, oh, I just want to do all these different voices. Ha ha ha! It'll be funny. Now, I want to put some thought behind it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. I didn't. Wow. I didn't really think of that idea until I just typed it. You know, you can create trauma for yourself through your own actions. Like I don't know. Trauma. Usually, the way we look at it, trauma is something that happens to you. But what happens when you know trauma is a part of you?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. It's definitely, how he would phrase it.
Okay. Hmm. Does Khonshu have a role in this? I'm just randomly putting that out there.
Does Country have a role in this?
Yeah. No, what I mean is like, okay, he's getting away from him, he's doing his own thing, all that. I mean, that's all well and good. I feel like it's just going like smoothly. I don't know. Uh,
I don't want to get Conchu too involved in this. I think that's going to get, um,
It'll triple the size of the skit.
yeah.
No, 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 no. But it doesn't thematically. It doesn't fit. I think what I'm struggling with right now is that, yeah, at least from what I've read of Moon Knight, I feel like, okay, this is kind of the road that he'd go down. I guess almost what I'm saying is like, okay, then what's my role in this? Like at this point, like is there anything that I'm actually doing for him other than being the sounding board, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. So what's the end game here then? I would say, um, the end game for him would be maybe just, why is he continuing to go along and and do all of the stuff that Conchu wants him to do, but not the way that he wants to do it. Like what's driving
Mhm,
him to continue this path if he's still so pissed off
mhm,
at Conchu and he's like there's
mhm.
strings and there's this and there's that. Well,
Yeah,
then why are you continuing to do this?
yeah,
And get him to examine that.
yeah. Okay, okay,
Um,
yeah,
and
okay.
maybe that's something that,
Mhm,
I mean, even if it's a situation where you can say in not so quite so many words, like, you don't have to come up with an answer right now, but, in a future session, like we can
mhm,
address how to look at that. And
mhm, mhm. Gotcha. Hmm. Yeah. Gotcha. I'm really enjoying this tease of like, no, he's not going to break out altars. He's not going to do it. Like he's handling this, but you know, everybody's just waiting. Like, oh, come on, it's got to be there. It's like, nope, nope. He's really doing this himself, but it's tough.
I can tell you tricks. Just part of me that would want to punch you in the face with that, and I know, and I don't mean in the way you're thinking. Now I'm trying to think of
Mhm.
how does he mean that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you said that,
So
I'm trying
there's
to.
so I had at least three ideas. I had just the visceral reaction of, you know, don't just shoot down what I'm telling you by insulting my goals. That's just one base point. There's also, I know you have a point there, but I'm not really sure I need to go that far because like there's a kernel of truth, but it's not really on the mark because I'm not looking at this the same way you are. There is a disagreement there. I want to be blunt about it, but I'm respecting you and your profession. The third, of course, is the trope of like, yes, I know you're thinking I'm just going to shift into somebody else and, you know, be super pissed off because I can't deal with something, but I'm not going to do that. Hell, fourth, I don't mean I want to punch you. I'm saying like, this is really effing hard. And a part of me would just like try and just, you know, power through it and block it out, but I'm not going to do that, you know?
That's the one.
Okay, then.
I kind of feel like that's,
Mhm.
enough in character that I'm not just making it up out of whole cloth.
No, I get it. And that really is my thought on something like that. uh, oops. Sorry. Uh, hmm. All right. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he would say to that, but I mean that's really how I would approach it. If somebody's willing to say that something pissed them off, but they were handling it in a mature way and able to explain it the way he did, I would acknowledge it. And I'd say, "All right, good job." But then it's up to him. Like, okay, so where do we go? You know, right after that. Actually, yeah. Let me just add a statement to that.
So are you wait? Oh, you waiting for me to?
I
Sorry, I was
wasn't
looking.
necessarily waiting for you. I'm just trying to think what the hell I said. I mean, obviously you could jump in. That's fine, but um,
Because he's not going to fully trust you.
Oh, I understand. And I've done this with patients. When I'm about to type, I've done this with patients very cautiously, usually dealing with psychosis, not necessarily with DID, but it's the premise is still going to stand. You'll see.
Okay.
Hamilton reference. Uh, Knock, knock. Who there? Go fuck yourself. Sheiky baby. not levels, just gap it.
Leave it at that.
Yep, it's totally fine.
All right. So we will record this mañana.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Sounds good.
All
So
right.
I'll end the broadcast then.